Have you ever looked into the eyes of an animal and seen a story that words can never fully capture? Today, I want to share with you a journey that changed not just one life, but an entire family's understanding of love, patience, and second chances. This is Luna's story, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at rescue animals the same way again. Before we begin, if stories of hope and transformation touch your heart, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because this channel is dedicated to sharing the most powerful animal rescue stories that remind us of the good that still exists in this world. It was a cold November evening when Sarah Martinez first heard the sound. She had just finished loading groceries into her car at the local supermarket when a faint, desperate meowing cut through the sound of traffic and wind. At first, she thought she had imagined it. The parking lot was busy, filled with the usual chaos of shopping carts rattling and car engines starting. But there was again a thin, trembling cry that seemed to come from somewhere near the dumpsters behind the store. Sarah felt her heart clench. She was already running late to pick up her son Tommy from soccer practice, and her husband Michael was expecting her home to help with dinner. But something about that sound, so fragile and pleading, made it impossible for her to just drive away. She followed the sound, her sneakers crunching on broken glass and scattered debris as she made her way behind the building. The smell of rotting food and old cardboard filled the air, and the shadows grew longer as the sun began to set. Then she saw her, huddled between two cardboard boxes. Pressed against a cold brick wall was a small gray tabby cat. But this wasn't just any stray. This cat looked like she had been through a war. Her fur was matted and dirty, clumped with substances Sarah didn't want to identify. One eye was partially swollen shut, and she was so thin that every rib showed clearly beneath her dull coat. The white crescent-shaped marking on her forehead, which would later become one of her most distinctive features, was barely visible beneath the grime. When Sarah took a step closer, the cat flinched so violently that she nearly knocked over the box beside her, and Sarah's heart broke into 1,000 pieces right there in that dirty parking lot. Sarah knelt down slowly, making herself as small and non-threatening as possible. She began speaking in the softest voice she could manage, telling the frightened creature that everything would be okay, that she was safe now, that nobody was going to hurt her anymore. The cat's amber eyes, despite their fear, held something else too, a flicker of desperate hope, as if some part of her still wanted to believe that kindness existed in the world. Sarah reached out her hand, not to touch, but simply to let the cat catch her scent. The cat pressed herself even harder against the wall, her tiny body trembling uncontrollably. Sarah could see now that the cat was likely suffering from more than just neglect. There were signs of old injuries, patches where fur was missing, and a slight limp when she tried to shift position. This wasn't just an abandoned pet. This was a survivor of something terrible, and she desperately needed help. 45 minutes later, Sarah was still there. She had called Michael to pick up Tommy and explain the situation. To his credit, despite his initial concern about bringing another animal into their home, he told her to do whatever she needed to do. Sarah had made 3 trips back to her car, bringing a soft blanket, some leftover turkey from her groceries, and a bottle of water. She had learned patience in these 45 minutes, understanding that trust couldn't be forced, only offered. The cat had watched her every movement with those wary amber eyes, flinching at every sound, every shadow. But slowly, incrementally, the distance between them had decreased. The turkey had helped. Sarah had torn tiny pieces and placed them progressively closer, never reaching out, never pushing, always retreating after each offering to give the cat space. And now, finally, the cat was eating from a piece just inches from Sarah's hand, her hunger temporarily overriding her fear. When Sarah finally managed to wrap the cat gently in the blanket and lift her into the carrier she retrieved from her car, she felt the tiny body go rigid with terror. The cat's breathing became rapid and panicked, and Sarah whispered constant reassurances during the entire drive to the emergency veterinary clinic. She had called ahead, and Dr. Emma Chun, the clinic's senior veterinarian, was waiting when Sarah rushed through the doors. Dr. Chin took one look at the cat and immediately began her examination with the practiced efficiency of someone who had seen too many cases like this. The news wasn't good. The cat, whom Sarah had already begun calling Luna because of that moon-shaped marking on her forehead, was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from an upper respiratory infection. She had old fractures in her tail that had healed improperly, dental disease that suggested years of poor nutrition, and countless scars hidden beneath her matted fur that told stories Dr. Chin said they might never fully understand. But here's what Dr. Chin also told Sarah, something that would prove prophetic in the weeks to come. She said that despite everything Luna had been through, despite the physical and emotional trauma that was written all over her small body, there was something in those amber eyes that hadn't been extinguished, a will to survive, a capacity for trust that somehow, miraculously, hadn't been completely destroyed. Dr. Chen had been a veterinarian for 23 years, and she had learned to recognize which animals still had that spark and which had been broken beyond repair. Luna, she told Sarah with absolute certainty, still had that spark. It would take time, patience, and unwavering commitment, but Luna could heal. The question was whether Sarah was prepared for the journey that lay ahead, because it wouldn't be easy, and there would be moments when it would feel impossible. Sarah didn't hesitate. She looked at Luna, who was now cleaned up and resting in a warm veterinary kennel, her breathing eased by medication, and her small body finally relaxed enough to sleep, and she made a promise. She would be there for every step of Luna's recovery, no matter how long it took, no matter how difficult it became. Michael, when he arrived at the clinic with Tommy an hour later, saw the determination in his wife's eyes and knew that their family was about to grow. Tommy pressed his face against the kennel, his eyes wide with a mixture of wonder and concern. He had never seen a cat that looked so small, so fragile, so in need of help. In that moment, something shifted in the 7-year-old heart too. He looked up at his mother and whispered, asking if they were really going to take Luna home and make her better. When Sarah nodded, Tommy made his own promise, telling Luna through the metal bars that he would be the best friend she ever had. The first night at home was harder than Sarah had anticipated. Luna, despite the medication and the comfortable bed Sarah had prepared in the spare room, refused to come out from under the guest bed. She had eaten nothing, used the litter box only once out of desperate necessity, and flinched violently whenever anyone entered the room. Sarah sat on the floor beside the bed for hours that night, sometimes talking softly, sometimes just sitting in silence, her presence a constant reassurance that Luna was no longer alone in her fear. Michael brought Sarah dinner on a tray and sat with her for a while, both of them listening to the occasional small sounds that indicated Luna was still alive under there, still breathing, still present even as she couldn't yet bring herself to be seen. Tommy struggled with the situation more than his parents had expected. He wanted so desperately to help to pet Luna, to play with her the way he had played with his friends' cats. Sarah had to explain, over and over, that Luna was different. She had been hurt, abandoned, left to survive on her own in a world that had shown her mostly cruelty. She needed time. She needed space. She needed them to prove, through patience and consistency, that this home was different from whatever she had known before. It was a hard lesson for a 7-year-old, but Tommy listened. He started sitting outside Luna's room, drawing pictures of cats and sliding them under the door. He would whisper stories about his day at school, about his friends, about the treehouse his dad was building in the backyard. He never expected a response. But he showed up every day, his presence becoming as much a part of Luna's new routine as a food Sarah left just within reach under the bed. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later, and it happened in the most unexpected way. Sarah had been following Dr. Chen's advice, meticulously, creating a routine that Luna could predict and rely on. Food appeared at the same times every day. The water bowl was freshened. The litter box was cleaned. Sarah would sit in the room for an hour each morning and evening, sometimes reading aloud from books, sometimes just existing in the same space. She never forced interaction, never reached under bed, never tried to pull Luna into connection before she was ready. And then one morning, as Sarah sat reading, she saw a movement from the corner of her eye. Luna had emerged from under the bed, just her head at first, those amber eyes watching, calculating, measuring the distance and the risk. Sarah didn't move, didn't even acknowledge what was happening. Though her heart was racing, she kept reading, her voice steady and calm, while Luna took one tentative step into the open, then another, for 10 precious minutes. Luna sat in the middle of the room, her body still tense and ready to bolt, but visibly present in a way she hadn't been since arriving. Sarah continued reading, tears streaming silently down her face, because she understood what courage it took for Luna to be that vulnerable. When Tommy's alarm went off in his room down the hall, the sudden sound sent Luna scrambling back in the bed. But something had shifted. A door had been opened, even if just a crack. That evening, Sarah found Luna sitting by the food bowl when she entered the room, eating while Sarah was present rather than waiting until she left. It was progress, small but significant, and Sarah celebrated by calling Dr. Chen to share the news. Dr. Chen's response was encouraging but cautionary. The road ahead would still be long. She reminded Sarah, trust, once broken as thoroughly as Luna's had been, doesn't rebuild overnight. There would be setbacks. There would be moments of regression. But every small step forward was proof that Luna was healing, and that was worth celebrating. As November turned into December, Luna's transformation began in earnest. She started exploring the room when Sarah was present, her movements cautious but curious. She discovered the window, and Sarah would find her sitting on the sill, watching birds and squirrels with an intensity that suggested she was remembering something from before, from a time when life might have been different. Her physical health improved dramatically with regular food, medication, and veterinary care. The respiratory infection cleared. Her fur, once dull and matted, began to show its true coloring after patient grooming sessions that Sarah conducted with the softest brush, working through small sections at a time, always stopping if Luna showed distress. The gray tabby markings became vibrant, the white paws and chest gleamed, and that crescent moon on her forehead stood out like a badge of identity. Luna was still thin, but no longer skeletal. Her eyes were bright and clear. The physical wounds were healing, but the emotional wounds, those were deeper and more complex. Luna would have good days where she seemed almost like a normal cat, and then something would trigger her, a sudden movement, a loud noise, an unfamiliar object, and she would retreat into that protective shell of fear. Sarah learned to read the signs, the way Luna's ears would flatten, how her pupils would dilate, the tension that would run through her small body. In those moments, Sarah would simply back away, giving Luna the space she needed to feel safe again. It was a dance they learned together, this push and pull connection and retreat. And slowly, gradually, the retreats became less frequent and less intense. Tommy's patience was finally rewarded just before Christmas. He had maintained his routine of sitting outside Luna's room, talking to her through the door, never demanding, never pushing. One evening, Sarah made a decision. She opened Luna's door fully, allowing her access to the rest of the house if she chose to take it. Tommy was doing homework at the kitchen table when he looked up and saw Luna, standing in the hallway, watching him from a safe distance. He remembered his mother's instructions. Don't move suddenly. Don't reach out. Don't make loud noises. Just exist, and let her come to you if she's ready. So Tommy went back to his homework, pretending not to notice, though his heart was pounding with excitement. 15 minutes later, he felt something soft brush against his leg. Luna had crossed the kitchen and was rubbing against his shin, her tail held high in a gesture that Dr. Chen had told him meant trust. Tommy sat frozen, barely breathing, while this small miracle unfolded. When Luna looked up at him with those amber eyes and meowed softly, Tommy whispered back, telling her what he'd been saying for weeks now, that he was so happy she was here, that she was safe, that she was loved. Christmas morning brought another milestone. Luna, who had been gradually expanding her territory throughout the house, investigated the Christmas tree with cautious interest. She batted a low-hanging ornament, then looked back at Sarah as if asking permission. Sarah laughed, the sound full of joy, and told Luna that yes, she could play. For the first time since her rescue, Luna played. It wasn't the wild, energetic play of a kitten, but the careful, exploratory play of a cat learning that joy is possible again. She chased a ribbon that Tommy dragged across the floor. She pounced on a toy mouse that Michael rolled toward her. She climbed into the empty box that Tommy's new bicycle had come in and peeked out with an expression that could only be described as mischievous. The family sat together, watching this transformation unfold, understanding that they were witnessing something profound. This wasn't just a cat getting comfortable in a new home. This was a soul remembering what it felt like to be whole. But the journey wasn't without its challenges. In January, during a particularly violent thunderstorm, Luna regressed significantly. The sounds of thunder and the flashes of lightning triggered something deep and traumatic in her memory. She disappeared, and it took Sarah 3 hours to find her, wedged into the smallest possible space in the back of the hall closet, shaking uncontrollably and unresponsive to calls or treats. Sarah carefully removed coats and shoes, creating a path, and then simply sat outside the closet, door open, talking softly about nothing and everything. She talked about the first time she saw Luna in that parking lot. She talked about how proud she was of Luna's courage. She talked about all the good days they had and all the good days still to come. She talked about how storms always end, how the sun always returns, how fear is temporary but love is permanent. It took hours. But eventually Luna emerged, not to flee to another hiding spot, but to press herself against Sarah's legs, seeking comfort from the very person offering it. Sarah cried as she gently stroked Luna's soft fur, understanding that this moment represented a fundamental shift. Luna was no longer just tolerating humans. She was beginning to rely on them, to need them, to trust them. February brought the introduction of Luna to the outside world, or at least a veterinary version of it. She needed her regular checkup, vaccinations, and a general assessment of her recovery. Dr. Chin had warned Sarah that vet visits could be traumatic for rescue animals, triggering memories of pain or confinement. Sarah prepared meticulously, using a comfortable carrier with soft blankets that smelled like home, talking to Luna throughout the car ride, playing soft music. At the clinic, Dr. Chin took her time, allowing Luna to explore the examination room at her own pace before beginning the checkup. The results were remarkable. Luna had gained weight, reaching a healthy size for a small adult female cat. Her blood work showed no remaining signs of infection or malnutrition. The old injuries had healed as well as they could. Physically, Luna was a success story. Dr. Chin ran her hand along Luna's back, and Luna arched into touch, purring. The doctor looked at Sarah with tears in her eyes and said something Sarah would never forget. She said that in all her years of practice, she had never seen such complete transformation in such a short time. It wasn't just about medical treatment or proper nutrition, though those were crucial. It was about the unwavering commitment Sarah and her family had shown, the patience they had exercised, the love they had offered without expecting immediate returns. Luna's healing was a testament to what's possible when humans choose to see beyond an animal's broken exterior to the spirit still fighting inside. As winter gave way to spring, Luna's personality fully emerged. She was, Sarah discovered, playful in her own subtle way. She loved chasing the red dot of a laser pointer, but only for a few minutes before growing bored. She preferred interactive toys that required thinking, puzzle feeders that challenged her intelligence. She was affectionate but on her own terms, seeking out lap time when she needed comfort, but also valuing her independence. She had claimed the sunny spot by the living room window as her own, and the family would often find her there, stretched out in the warmth, looking utterly content. She had developed a special bond with each family member. With Sarah, she was most openly affectionate, often sleeping curled against Sarah's side at night. With Michael, she was playfully interactive, meeting him at the door each evening when he came home from work. And with Tommy, she was gentle and patient, allowing him to practice being a responsible pet owner, teaching him lessons about respect and boundaries that would serve him throughout his life. The neighborhood began to notice the change too. Sarah would post updates on the local community page, sharing Luna's progress, her photos showing the dramatic before and after transformation. People who had seen Sarah that first night at the grocery store, who would watch her spend nearly an hour coaxing a terrified cat into a carrier, would stop her during walks to ask about Luna. The story spread, touching hearts throughout the community, reminding people that second chances are real and that patience and love can heal even the deepest wounds. Several families, inspired by Luna's story, chose to adopt rescue animals themselves. Understand that the most broken are often the most deserving, and that the rewards of giving an animal a second chance are immeasurable. By the time they arrived, Luna had been with the Martinez family for 6 months. To celebrate, they threw her a small party, just a family and a homemade tuna cake that Dr. Chun had recommended. Luna, surrounded by her people in her safe home, ate enthusiastically and then did something she had never done before. She jumped into Sarah's lap, turned around 3 times, and settled in with a deep, rumbling purr that seemed to come from her very soul. She looked up at Sarah with those bright amber eyes, the crescent moon on her forehead catching the afternoon light. And Sarah saw in that gaze complete trust, absolute contentment, and something else too, recognition. Luna knew she was home. She knew she was loved. She knew, finally and forever, that she was safe. But Luna's story doesn't end there, because the impact of one small cat's journey rippled outward in ways Martinez's family never anticipated. Tommy, inspired by Luna's transformation, started a project at school about animal rescue and responsible pet ownership. His presentation touched his classmates so deeply that the school organized a supply drive for the local animal shelter, collecting hundreds of pounds of food, blankets, toys, and other necessities. Tommy's teacher called Sarah to tell her that Tommy had shown a level of empathy and compassion beyond his years, and that Luna had taught him lessons no textbook ever could. Michael, who had initially been hesitant about taking a rescue cat, became an advocate for adoption, volunteering at the local shelter on weekends, and using his construction skills to build cat trees and climbing structures that would help other rescue cats regain their confidence and strength. Sarah found herself becoming something of a resource for other potential rescue adopters, sharing the techniques she had learned, the patience she had developed, and the understanding that every animal heals at their own pace. She created a blog documenting Luna's journey, not for fame or attention, but because she believed that Luna's story needed to be told, that somewhere out there, someone might be standing in a parking lot or walking past a shelter, uncertain whether they had what it takes to help an animal in need. Luna's story was proof that they did. That anyone with patience, commitment, and love could make a difference in an animal's life and, in turn, find their own life transformed by the experience. The greatest gift Luna gave her family wasn't just her presence or her affection, though those were precious. It was a reminder that brokenness isn't permanent, that trauma doesn't have to define a life, and that healing is always possible when offered the right environment and the right support. Every time Sarah looked at Luna, healthy and happy and whole, she was reminded that the world is full of second chances waiting to happen, that behind every scared, damaged animal is a story of survival and a spirit waiting to trust again. Luna had taught them that love isn't about immediate gratification or easy connections. Sometimes love is about sitting on the floor for hours, waiting. Sometimes it's about respecting boundaries and moving at someone else's pace. Sometimes it's about celebrating tiny victories and having faith during inevitable setbacks. And sometimes love is simply about showing up day after day, saying through actions rather than words that you're not going anywhere, that this time is different, that home is real and permanent and safe. As I conclude Luna's story today, I want you to know that she's still thriving. She's now over a year into her forever home, and the scared, broken cat from that parking lot is unrecognizable in the confident, affectionate companion she's become. She still has her quirks, her preferences, her boundaries. She probably always will. The past doesn't disappear just because the present is better. But Luna has proven that the past doesn't have control of the future either. She has shown that with patience, commitment, and unconditional love, healing is not just possible but inevitable. If Luna's story has touched your heart, I encourage you to consider adoption when you're ready to bring a pet into your life. Visit your local shelter or rescue organization. Look past the perfect puppies and kittens to the older animals. The scared ones, the ones with medical histories or behavioral challenges. Those are the ones who need you most. Those are the ones whose stories of transformation will change your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. Every animal deserves what Luna found: a second chance, a safe home, and a family who will never give up on them no matter how long healing takes. Before you leave this video, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We share rescue stories like Luna's every week because we believe these stories matter. They remind us of the good we can do in this world. They inspire action. They create change. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. Leave a comment telling us your own rescue story or sharing how Luna's journey affected you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who might be considering rescue adoption, or someone who simply needs a reminder that healing is possible, share this video with them. Together, we can create a world where every animal gets the ending Luna did, where every scared creature finds their Sarah, their safe home, their second chance. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And thank you for being part of a community that believes love can heal anything. Luna's journey from abandoned to beloved is complete. But there are countless other Lunas out there right now, waiting in shelters, hiding behind dumpsters, hoping that someone will see past their fear to love they still have to offer. Let's make sure they all find their way home.